Come with me and you'll see in a world of pure imagination. Well, the Wonka movie is finally here. Well, I don't have a Willy Wonka costume. The closest thing to a Wonka costume is this top hat, even if the hat is, well, it's not that great. What, you know, I got kind of like an interesting history with the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory franchise. And I do mean history. And, and I'm really happy to share with you before I go with my thoughts of the latest prequel movie, Wonka. For those who doesn't know, this is a story written by Roald Dahl. Is probably his most recognizable work. Even though Roald Dahl also made some other works that I did cover some of on this channel. Most predominantly The Witches. Although there are some others that we recognize. Like some that I remember are like I think it was the Twitch. I think it was called like that. There's the Magic Finger. The BFG, the Danny and the Champion of the World. Okay, some others escaped me. I did mention the witch. I did mention the witches. Oh, Matilda. There is also Matilda. It's been a while that I've seen that movie. Maybe I might revisit it sometime. Maybe not. It will depend on my mood or something like that. But I'm here mostly to talk about the Roald Dahl's most noticeable work, which is, of course, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And as much as this one is kind of become one of the most beloved franchise of his works, it also has its own, well, kind of like interesting backstory when it's about adaptations. Curiously, I also have kind of like a background with it. So here goes. I was introduced to to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory while I was in high school. Our English teacher, that it's always with kind of like in the curriculum that they present us a book and we read it alongside the teacher so we can learn English. Even if I was knowledgeable of English, I didn't need it to go through much. But the point is that one of those books was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And as much as I read it, I was getting into it, and I was kind of like a young, naive guy that it was kind of like a wacky thing, with wacky designs. Although it had I will say kind of like a doodlish illustrations. I don't remember who the artist is, but a lot of people kind of criticize that artist, saying that, well, this looks kind of like ugly. Personally, I kind of came up to accepting it because it was kind of unique on the book illustrations. I did see another one that had another illustration, and unfortunately, it was kind of like, it was worse because it didn't feel as cartoonish. That represents the whimsical world that this book had. And while I was we were kind of like more than half of the book, I went to Blockbuster Video and found out that there was a movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I rented. And then we went to the family's farm. I got an uncle who lives on the farm side of the country, and we brought the movie in it. And then me and my cousins watched the movie. And even though we find out I did find out some of the some of the differences that this movie had with the book. The one thing for sure, it left us everyone craving for chocolate. I'm serious. When the movie ended, we just tried to go to the store and tried to buy some chocolate. And it was pretty hard at that moment because it was almost in the middle of the night, and in the rural side of the country, they usually close stores very early. So it was kind of like, it was, we spent a whole day craving for chocolate. That was kind of like hilarious in one way or another. So I kind of began to give a lot of credit to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and little by little, it went, especially when internet became very big, we began to notice how people were really built this movie as a cult following. And then I've watched it a few more times, and unfortunately, the movie kind of became one of those rare cases in which the more I watch it, it got worse and worse and worse. I'm beginning to see more problems than that I couldn't even hold on too much about the movie. Still, as much as there are some things that I was beginning to lose some taste on that movie, there are a few things that still hold up. The Pure Imagination song and Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka, well, no one's gonna top that. He was great in that movie, and I give it credit. Probably, and maybe one of the reasons is probably because I felt a little bit sympathetic with Roald Dahl, because if you kind of see the history of Roald Dahl, he hated almost every single adaptation of his works. That one included. Roald Dahl hated Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He hated all of them. The only one that he actually liked was the animated BFG. But this is another thing that I could talk about it in another time. We're concentrating on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And then came out the Tim Burton version, the one with Johnny Depp. I was surprised that came out because the promotions in the movie kind of came out of nowhere. And this one also kind of got the same problem, that at first I kind of like it, but then the more I see about it, it got worse and worse. But this one had a little bit of a different, kind of like a vice versa situation, in which the Tim Burton version, I like a little bit the storytelling better because it's a little bit more faithful to the book, with a few creative liberties, well, more or less. But I hated and still hate Johnny Depp as Willy Wonka. God, that this guy was awful as Johnny Depp, and even to this day, and I despise his role. I think I've said this before, that while I do appreciate Johnny Depp as an actor in some movies, I think that there are roles that suit him, but some roles that doesn't. And when he plays whimsical characters, he sucks. He overacts, and he's not whimsical. He's more eccentric than whimsical, and it's out of place, and it makes him kind of like a combination between creepy, overacting, or terrible acting. His role as Willy Wonka is one example, and unfortunately that character is carried out as the Mad Hatter in the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland. So, my God, that he's terrible. Probably the biggest reason why he was there is probably because he has his loving relationship with Tim Burton. Okay, is that it's mostly because I jokingly say that Tim Burton and Johnny Depp have, since he appeared in almost all of his movies, I kind of joked that they were kind of like in a romantic relationship. It's not true, but I kind of joke like that. And so it's been kind of like many years now that both movie came out. I still kind of like held a little bit kind of like a hostile relationship with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I still kind of begin to find it overrated. That is until I saw a video about in which it's a video that compares the book and the movies, and they did kind of like a great job finding kind of like a middle ground on those, even though they kind of begin to praise the movie for what it is. And then it hit me. It hit me by saying that, you know what, maybe I was a little bit too harsh on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So I gave it a watch, now a little bit older. And you know what? Maybe I was a little bit harsh. There's still some things that does hold up, but not exactly by a long shot. There are, of course, some songs that doesn't hit me. I still think that Cheer Up Charlie song is terrible. It was a little bit going too far from being a little bit too melodramatic. I'm not exactly also a fan that they kill off Charlie's father in this one, when in the book he is still alive. Something that I'm grateful that they did on the Tim Burton version. But again, also I hated the Slugworth subplot so much that I still kind of hate it. But still, I decided to give it a fair chance, and I think I appreciate the Willy Wonka movie a little bit better than I did before. And again, what still holds up, like the Pure Imagination song and the Willy Wonka. I mean Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. Except a little bit the one where he gets angry, because honestly, it compared a little bit in the purist side of the book, it kind of break his character a little bit, and it felt kind of like heartbreaking. But you know what? Probably there might be some good reasons for that. Maybe I got kind of like mixed feelings to that. But now we are here talking about the latest movie, Wonka, which is technically Warner Brothers' attempt to not lose the rights of the Roald Dahl license. So they decided to come up with an original prequel to the movie. There is this guy in Movie Plus who he made a terrible comparison, saying that, oh, this is a prequel to the book. No, it wasn't. It has elements from the movie. You're confused. It's clear and day that it is a prequel to the Gene Wilder movie. Of course, that since it is a prequel, they have kind of like more open space to build up some stuff and relate into the lore. But still, in my head, is that this is another project that Roald Dahl will be so pissed, considering that this guy was always kind of like pissed. I have to double. I wanted to kind of like be double sure if this was technically the fault of Roald Dahl's taste, or because I've been hearing I've been hearing stories that Roald Dahl as a person, he was kind of like a jerk in some ways, but I have to double check those facts. But either way, I still find it a little bit overbloated and kind of a little bit worried because making a Roald Dahl story, let alone the Willy Wonka franchise, it's gonna be kind of like a hard thing to do. And I don't care if that movie is directed by the guy who made Paddington. I know the reputation of Paddington, especially Paddington 2, after watching the Nicolas Cage movie last year. But I've never seen these movies, so I don't know. The closest thing to that is Lyle Crocodile that I saw last year, and I really like that one. I really like Lyle Crocodile. So I was kind of like crossing my fingers because even the trailer I found a few red flags that it was like something like that, and honestly, I'm talking kind of like a more in a critical eye view, in which people will all criticize that and saying, "Oh, you're just grown up. You're not exactly a kid or something like that." Yeah, I am, but what's your point? What's your point? That doesn't excuse a bad movie because children technically deserve better. And even thought even a cynical way, I'm a little bit kind of like a tough love kind of guy that the more we expose children to even darker stuff, the better, because the world is not exactly rainbows and sunshine. You can pretend that it is a world like that, and it's good to keep it like that. But there's also a balance. You have to also keep your feet on the ground and know what is the boundaries between fiction and reality. It's a little bit kind of like a healthy balance and a little bit kind of like a zen-like proportion. Again, I'm not saying that children should not play or eat candy or something like that. Candy's good. It's delicious. I love chocolate. See, even I got a chocolate bar prepared when I finish this review. Yeah, so much candy can lead to cavities. You know what I'm getting at. So I went there. Before I talk to you about the movie, let me tell you something awkward that happened during the movie theater. I went there. I went to the movie theater. The lights were on because they were still playing the pre-trailers, but I saw one of the most bizarre things I have seen, at least this week. I sit in my chair, and then I kind of begin to have this funny sensation that something is wrong in the theater. I turn my back, I turn my head, and I see a guy wearing a face mask. And weirdly enough, he was pacing to and fro on the whole wide area of the movie theater, walking backwards. And it wouldn't have been so bad but the guy he kind of repeatedly doing that. It was weird. Let me show you. It was almost like he was walking like this. And then again, like that. And he did it a few times that I tried that, I was kind of like got awkward, and then I tried to ignore it, by trying to watch the trailers, but then I just turned around again. I was like, what is going on with this guy? I didn't want it to be that guy, but that was bizarre, and I was like, okay, what the hell is he doing? Even dark thoughts was coming to my head until he. I think after the second trailer, he finally stopped and took his seat, and I was like, thank goodness. But still, that was one of the most bizarre things I have seen, at least this week. And and the movie hasn't even started because, man, that this movie was bizarre. Not as very bizarre like the boy and the heron. But well, I just finished it while talking. Right in the get go, I am I am surprised to say that the movie wasn't bad. For a prequel, it wasn't bad. But I've been hearing a lot of reviews really praising this movie. But I don't want to be kind of like the guy who say, "Wow, this movie is awesome" and something like that. No, the movie was okay at best. Yeah, this is me coming from overhyping a little bit Godzilla -1. Although Godzilla -1 does deserve some merits, a lot of merit. This one, it has some merits, but there are some things that it kept me out from loving this movie. It's not terrible, and you know what? I've seen worse cases of trying to pander to younger audience with a big musical with big colors and cotton candy and all this stuff. Although sometimes there are some moments in which it kind of draws the line that it becomes a little bit cringy when you try to think about it too seriously. This is the problem when you kind of get a little bit more of a critical eye. Is that you kind of try to balance the taste and your feelings, and sometimes it kind of comes into a conflict. But you know what? I've seen worse cases. I've seen worse cases like that. Like, for example, you know what? I think you know what other movie I'm gonna talk, which I consider really dangerous. You know what? I'm gonna leave you like that. But in the case of Wonka, it was harmless enough. It was harmless if you managed to pass. It's a little bit of critical eye and some cringy moments that I personally had. But for a prequel, it wasn't bad. It could have been better. It could have been better. For what it got, it does its job. It does its job. If people get entertained by the movie, the music, and all these things, it's passable at best. I certainly will say that it tops the Tim Burton Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but not the Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory, the one with Gene Wilder. But whether it's good or bad, I bet that it doesn't matter that if you like it or not, if the movie is genuinely good or genuinely bad, or is it critically good or critically bad. No matter no matter what you think about this movie or what this movie is, Roald Dahl is rolling on his grave. I mean, he didn't like any of the adaptations, so why not? I'm gonna give credit to the movie that at least it's better than The Witches, or the one that I jokingly call Everybody Hates Chris, the Halloween episode. Okay, I gotta start talking about the movie. All right, this is gonna take a little bit too long. So, like I said, this is a prequel to Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory, in which this one presents Mr. Willy Wonka, this time played by Timothée Chalamet. He goes into town, after doing all this kind of like business and all this stuff, and he just wants to create his own chocolate factory, with his genius mind, with fantastic alchemy and magic because he's also a magician. But of course, things hit hard because, well, the town is basically under the iron rule of this chocolate cartel, comprised by three chocolate providers. One of them is Slugworth, and in which they also are protected by the police. They accept bribes with chocolate, and also the church. There's the corrupt church. There's corruption on the church with Rowan Atkinson as the priest. But basically, these are one of the hindrances that Wonka has in order to build up his own chocolate business. Also, he gets ensnared into these nasty landlords that trick him into signing a contract, and well, now he becomes enslaved to them, and now he has to work for them technically forever with a group of other people who fell with him. There's some. I will go with the other characters, but still. Basically, the movie is just about exploring Wonka trying to, build up his business despite the problems, alongside this orphan girl, which is also on the house. A girl who not exactly doesn't know her name. She's only known as Noodle. She's played by here's her name, Cullen Lane. And well, it showcases the magic of Willy Wonka and how can I say, it's basically the underdog story. The underdog, the genius guy who he has something wonderful that he wants to show off, but the pompous British executives, they want none of that. So they make things harder, and it's basically the kind of like the typical things that you've seen a lot of times in prequel movies. I don't have a problem with prequels. There's some prequels that I do like. But the problem that I have with this movie as a prequel is that it almost kind of ruins the mystery of Mr. Willy Wonka. Luckily, it didn't do much to ruin it, because Willy Wonka as a character, he always has been kind of like a character shrouded in mystery, and that makes this character not only unique but also fascinating. He's shown to be kind of like a wacky man, but with a brilliant mind to make delicious candy, and but at the same time, you can find his eccentric nature that he has all these projects and experiments that they're wonderful. They can also go wrong. I mean, look at the original story of Charlie and Chocolate Factory, in which most of those kids, the ones that behave very badly, they got their comeuppance. Most notably, the one that ate this experimental bubblegum and turned into a giant blueberry. We don't have much about this case. I'll get to that a little bit more into detail because I have to talk to you about most of the actors and the acting in this case. For example, let's talk about Timothée Chalamet, which I gotta say that he is one of the silver linings of the movie. He's charming, he's enjoyable, a little bit too whimsical for to be taken seriously. Although he kind of tries. He does a better job than Tim Burton, but unfortunately he's not Gene Wilder. And you know what? Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to compare him to Gene Wilder. And here's the thing. It's because I think I think what made Gene Wilder work is that he did manage to perform kind of like this sarcastic, cynical nature of Willy Wonka, but at the same time have kind of like this this charming personality that it had. And I kind of like that guy. He's not overly whimsical. Because if you go overly whimsical, you kind of get a little bit of a creep. And Timothy Chalamet, he kind of he kind of turned on a little bit too much on the whimsical side. I kind of wish that he was a little bit more sarcastic or cynical, if you wanted to capture the Willy Wonka thing. I thought, yeah, that will be a little bit copying Gene Wilder thing, but it's not exactly, copying Gene Wilder, because even in the book, Willy Wonka also has kind of like this cynical nature. Maybe you can, probably you might kind of like excuse it by saying that, well, this is his younger days, so, but still, honestly, that would have been kind of like more interesting and kept a little bit more the mystery of Willy Wonka. Also, and yeah, they wanted to showcase that he's kind of like a magician. He knows some stuff that other people don't do. He even get weird ingredients. But another thing that this movie, I wish they could hold a little bit more, is that yes, Willy Wonka was kind of like a magician, and he wanted to share about everything, the sweet, kind of like a good capitalist. And I think that a little bit what the movie kind of missed the point on Willy Wonka is that he's not just a whimsical magician, but he's also a businessman. There are times that he does do his stuff because he's resourceful. He knows what to do with the products that he does, and this movie kind of fails in some moments. Like, for example, he just hands out sweets that, well, they didn't feel. Well, he might test it out, but I don't think that some of the stuff that he gives out are actually kind of like ready for the market. I will go a little bit ahead, like for example saying that he does he at the beginning of the movie he creates those chocolates that once you eat them you begin to hover, to float like flying. Yeah, I'm not to the fizzy lifty drinks on the original book and the movie. But here is the thing. You can't do that and sell it to the public willy-nilly, because there is a problem with that. And even the book and the movie showcase why. Because you float uncontrollably and you go to the moon and, well, splat. Also you saw in the movie, they almost get shredded by the fence. Unless there is kind of like a, how can I say, a catch to it. I mean, like for example, in the fizzy lifty drinks, you have to burp. But on the other, but those chocolate, they say that it's temporary, even though that's not exactly like a safety net. I mean, look, there's even a DuckTales episode that has something like that, and that involves bubblegum. Okay, I think I detracted a little bit with that. It just, but either way, I think Timothy Chalamet did a nice job with it. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. They kind of gave him kind of like a little background in which his dream is well making. He's doing all this thing because he was inspired by his mother, his mother was kind of like he also made chocolate, and which, well, it kind of established that Wonka wanted to be a magician, but the mother was kind of like a chocolate maker, and they have kind of like a strong bond. They didn't mention the father. Probably the father was a dentist. Okay, I'm making fun of the Tim Burton version. Alright, let me talk about the other characters. The one character that actually worried me during the trailer is our noodle character, again played by Kyle Lane. I found out because I thought that she was gonna be kind of like the tokenized character that is gonna be like the one that influenced Willy Wonka to do his thing because, well, checklist reason. And luckily, it wasn't like that. She was kind of more like the orphan assistant that, yeah, that gets attached to Wonka, and well, it did. And they had a solid. She had a solid backstory. I'm not gonna exactly reveal what it is because that kind of goes a little bit into spoiler territory. But I began to warm up with the character a little bit. There were some moments that I felt a little bit forced and out of nowhere. Like, for example, there is also this subplot that Willy Wonka, despite his age, he can't read, and this character was like, you know what? Let me teach you how to read. Um, and it works well. It's not exactly kind of like the best team up there is, but she did work well. She did work well, and this character began to warm me up the more I knew about more about the character's background. Although I did have a soft spot also on the other people that joins Willy Wonka things. Remember that I say that they're also technically prisoners of the landlords. Man, these guys. Let's say that they have better personalities than the supposed seven dwarfs from Wish. It's kind of like this kind of like a ragtag team of people that got hoodwinked and now they're trapped out there. But these misfits, they warm up to Willy Wonka and decide to work up on his cause. Two of them that I found. Two of them that I find it predominantly is one guy who was an accountant of Slugworth that he was fired because he found a conspiracy that they're the ones that are hoarding the chocolate and all that stuff. And also there is this comedian that you just want to punch him because he's not funny. Let's leave it like that. But they're still a likable bunch. I like the accountant better. That's pretty much that I have to say. How can I? Oh yeah, the accountants. These accountants. I had a little problem with these guys, mostly because they were a little bit too mean-spirited for my taste. But then I was beginning to, while I was walking home, I began to, think about it, and I was like, you know what? This is technically Roald Dahl's world. Roald Dahl, it does have a world of cynicism, yeah, in which it kind of, fits in his world. And this couple is I swear that they're basically a nod to the I think it was called the Twits or the Twitch. It is a Roald Dahl story about this husband and wife that are really, really mean-spirited. Probably you made if that was a nod to those. I give it I'll give it a kind of like a thumbs up for that. What I did talk about Rowan Atkinson, but he barely is kind of like in the movie. He played kind of like the priest. There's also this police officer who he keeps the law because, well, apparently there's no daydreaming, and anyone who goes against the Chocolate Cartel, they don't go. Yeah, they go against it, and that is mostly because in this strange world, instead sometimes you get paid by chocolate instead of money. Yeah, I have to talk about Slugworth and the other two guys. Because here comes the negative that I have with this movie. if if I have something really how can I think it? If there's something really negative that I have with this movie, they are the villains. My God. I don't know if it's the acting or they wanted to ham it up to make it a little bit too family friendly, but the way these villains acted, it was so over the top and so goofy and cartoonish that it was just cringe. You know, when I did kind of make this acting, like for example, all these pompous British people, I mean that. The way they acted, it was, I can't say it is awful, but it was cringy. It was so cringy, especially because how they acted. Their snobbish personality. I mean, yeah, I know that they're villains and you're supposed to hate them, but I see them even written better especially even in Octopath Traveler 2. Funny thing that Octopath Traveler 2 has a route with a merchant, and that one has a very compelling story and better written character and better acting villains even compared to this one. But going with that, it was very cringy. There is motivation. I see that there was kind of like good, but they still make villainous, stupid decisions. And the one that made me cringe the most in mannerism is that there is kind of like one. There is one that it obviously wanted to showcase that it is villainous when he just can't spout the word peasants. When he wants to say peasant, he's like. Persons. That was embarrassing. It's similar to the Tim Burton version when you have Johnny Depp when he says parents. That's hamming it up, and it felt unnatural and embarrassing. Even for, I know you wanted to make it family friendly, to make kids like it. You're pushing. My God, you're pushing it. That was totally embarrassing. So much that I couldn't even take those villains seriously. Even when the moments when you wanted to make it seriously. And this also comes up with Slugworth. I can't believe that you make Slugworth even worse than the Willy Wonka version. The other movie I meant. God, the villains were awful. Oh, I almost forgot. There is an Oompa Loompa. And I was never a fan of the Oompa Loompa design, even in the last movie. Not even the Tim Burton version. None of the Oompa Loompa designs kind of like work. Although at least the old movie version, they kind of tried to be a little bit creative, but I wasn't mad. I remember that even as a child, watching the Oompa Loompas was a big disappointment, because when I saw the illustrations of that book, I did believe Oompa Loompa as kind of like people, kind of like a tribe. And well, that's basically the lore of the Oompa Loompas, that they're nomadic. There were nomadic creatures on this place that they love cocoa, and well, Willy Wonka found some potential in them and invite them to work at the factory so they can get the cocoa beans that they obviously love. And so they made it. And they also did this because they will be safe from predators. The Oompa Loompa, which I forgot the name of the guy. I think it was Tom. I think it was Tom Davis. As far as I'm reading this, the actor, he does an okay job, but I was kind of like weirded out by a little bit of the reckoning of the movie I gave, in which he basically plays an Oompa Loompa that is stealing some of Wonka's chocolate because, well, he was supposed to be guarding the last cocoa beans that Wonka took, and now he got exiled until he pays back his debt, because according to him, once you steal something, you have to give back 10,000 fold. Although honestly, I would have loved if the story more concentrated between Willy Wonka and that Oompa Loompa more than that. And honestly, I kind of wish that it could stick with the lore that the Oompa Loompas, were tribal people and they have, problems until Willy Wonka gave them that offer. I found that his story a little bit more interesting, but he was just there. And again, with the designs, I kind of wish they would be a little bit cuter. Oh yeah, there's a moment that it has this magic fart. I'll leave it by that. Oh, and speaking of weird things, there is another character that I think we'll call Abigail, but it's not a person. It's a CGI giraffe. And why do I mention that character when it means little? Well, there is something that it makes me curious. Because there is a scene in which Wonka needs some ingredients for his chocolate. And you know what is one of those ingredients? Giraffe milk. Giraffe milk. And you know what? I feel curious. I want to taste giraffe milk. I want to taste giraffe milk. I mean, don't get weirded out. I mean, the guy who drank cow milk, how did he get the idea? How did he get the idea of, you know what, I'll drink whatever stuff comes out from here. There's also goat milk. There's rat milk. Okay, just kidding with that one. We can also milk the chickens like that Barney movie. Okay, I'm having a little bit of fun of that, but you know what? I really wish people kind of like, I want to see the reaction of people when they think about giraffe milk. And if someone truly had the brilliant idea to commercialize giraffe milk, I want to taste it. I'm not exactly a lactose guy, but I'm curious. Sometimes I'm a curious person in a sick way. Probably it might taste better than the blue milk that Luke Skywalker drank. Okay. I think I already talked much about the characters, and I think it's time for me to talk about them. All right, the cinematography is looking good. You can tell that there's ambition. It's a passionate project that you can see, the chocolate, the trees. In some parts, the city looks good. It has kind of like Paddington level thing, but I just judged that by the trailers of Paddington since I didn't see the movie. It's wide-eyed. Catchy, I was saying, it's serviceable in a level of that that is a little bit sweet, and it's sweet looking for your eyes. Although when you have a keen eye, there are some times that you find some hiccups on the CGI, and there were a few moments that I found out that okay, now I can see the CGI here, the CGI over there. The giraffe is probably the biggest CGI blunder I could call for this movie. For the most part, I will say that it was a little bit Dr. Dolittle level of CGI, mostly on the giraffe, and that's a shame because the other things, they look really good. The chocolate looks good, which this is what's supposed to be. Things looks delicious. This is what you're supposed to do in a Wonka movie. It has to be edible. It has to look edible, and it does. The movie real it does look like an edible movie. Sometimes there's sometimes in which the chocolate looks a little bit too liquidy instead of the soft that you just want to melt your mouth with. I'll give so technically this part is you can give it a pass. There are some of course there are some weird things that you gotta some weird imagery that sometimes you have to take it or leave it. But when you think about it, it comes from the mind. It comes something based from Roald Dahl, and well, Roald Dahl also has its own quirks when with that. Well, you kind of try to forgive it. Music, they're okay at best. Timothy Chalamet he did prove to be kind of like a good singer. Not exactly kind of like tone adept when it's about music. But one thing that do saddens me a little bit is that there are some times that you can tell that there is something out of tune. I wish that more movies could be a little bit more honest and not rely on auto tune. Even if they sing pretty badly, let them sing. Let them sing. Let them train their vocals. That's part of genuine movie making. And I'm pretty sure that maybe one or two songs are gonna catch up into the eyes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe not. I mean, it could have been worse. But I bet you that probably one of them is gonna be nominated for best song. But of course, you know that Hollywood is still very tone deaf because I bet you that one of these awful songs from Wish are gonna be nominated for the Oscars. But okay, that's just me. Okay, what else I have to talk about this movie? I think like I said, I did like the thematic of the movie. It's not exactly kind of like a movie that is gonna teach your children, like for example, behave well, or you're gonna get punished, like the book and the movies did. Like I mean, the point of the book and the movie is that we have this good child, and then he basically enters this quote unquote competition with other four children that are really really naughty with their own personalities. Like for example, one kid is so fat that he's a greedy bastard. Then there's this girl who is overly competitive and likes to chew gum. There's this spoiled brat who always nags their parents to give her everything they want. And then there's this kid who is obsessed with television. As you can tell, Roald Dahl, he had huge problems with television. But either way, all these kids had their comeuppance because of their misbehavior. But Charlie is so much of a good-natured kid that, well, he is rewarded. That's kind of like the point of the story. In this case, it's mostly a prequel-itis movie that it showcases. Okay, here's Wonka. He's doing his stuff. He finds a good child, some good citizens, and now they work each other, to battle the Chocolate Cartel. Oh yeah, I did also. There's also this running gag in which there's this corrupt cop that he always wants to be paid with chocolates, to keep the town. And Slugworth and these awful villains, they pay him in chocolate. And the more the movie goes on, the guy gets fat and fatter and fatter. Because he gets a lot of chocolate, and I'm surprised that this guy didn't die of diabetes. Okay, but since this is a fantasy movie, let's ignore that there is this thing called diabetes. Okay, and yeah, there is this there's also this sub story with the girl that I didn't mind. She began to grow on me. Wonka trying his best, to make his business. It's really good. Although 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 again, it kind of beats out. I do have a little bit of a problem of some of the inconsistencies that it has with the lore, and sometimes it want to smack you in the face when it makes references to the other movies. For example, at the beginning of the movie, we see Willy Wonka, spending most of his money in, many stuff, like something that he wants to buy. He breaks a pumpkin and he has to pay. There is this con artist kid that shoe shines his shoe, but since Wonka is too nice for his own good, he just said, okay, here. And of course, when he has kind of like the last silver toppings, he accidentally drops it into the sewers. You know what? I'm not gonna be surprised if that same toppings is the one that Charlie finds later in life. And also, there is also the Oompa Loompas. And also it kind of bothers me that kind of even bothered me during the trailer, that Wonka showcased this magical chocolate to people that makes them float, and also it gives other effects like hair racing and some other stuff, which it kind of makes a little bit of a contradiction with the lore, considering that they knew that Wonka is magical and he made some of the best chocolates in the world, but the magical stuff, I think that he kind of felt it restricted, and it kept it like a mystery. And this is where basically the magic came from, is that nobody knew what was going on behind Wonka, and things were kept in the factory. And he wanted to release it in the public, but still he was doing all the experimentation, and still people they only get the normal stuff, like the Wonka bars or jelly beans or something like that, the chewing gum, just the normal stuff instead of. And so it kind of brings out inconsistency into the lore. I mean, okay, maybe trying to, even though you want to make it an excuse by saying that, okay, it's making its own thing, but if you want to go through that, then don't include elements of the Willy Wonka movie. Don't do that and go. Like for example, don't use the same designs of the Oompa Loompas. Or even the same song, and the Pure Imagination song that actually they sing it at the end of the movie. So it felt it. So if they could have separated itself from the Gene Wilder version, maybe I could have bought it as its own different thing. But you still wanted to keep it like that because it's nostalgic. So sorry, but that didn't. I felt kind of like this moment of kind of like inconsistent. There is a little bit that I also want to complain a little bit, but it might go too much into spoiler territory. But I kind of wish to talk about it. So you know what? I'll put this. A sweet, sweet, sweet chocolatey spoiler. So here goes. So it is revealed in the movie that Slugworth was actually a relative of the noodle kid. And how does Wonka realize that? When he gave her kind of like a handshake. And for some convenient reason, when he feels like Wonka sees that he has a ring print on his hand that looks like a pendant that Noodle has, So he was like, huh, you know what? This is kind of like, this is relative to, she might be related. So they decided to go with the plan that they want to expose the frauds of Slugworth and company. And they have kind of like this Ocean 11 style whimsical type of heist, including with the giraffe and the best they could do with Rowan Atkinson and chocolate that makes you drunk. No, I'm not kidding. And they use it three times into the movie. That there is kind of like this small chocolate that apparently looks like it's filled with a lot of alcohol because people begin to act like cartoon drunk and boom, they faint. So yeah, they find the accounts book that showcases the frauds that Slugworth and company did, which kind of begs the question why they didn't burn those things when they had the chance. And of course, Wonka and Noodles then are they're threatened by gunpoint by Slugworth, and instead of trying to killing them, they just lock them in the chocolate room where where they hoard the chocolate, instead of killing them immediately, because they don't want to use guns, and villains are stupid. It's so stupid that even a villain goes like this. But of course, they're rescued by the Oompa Loompa. And of course, they get out. They get out, and well, they reveal the fraud and the books to the other police. Even they arrest the corrupt captain because he was part of it, and he's even fatter, so fat that he couldn't even fit in the car. And of course, the villains, they just flew away because they ate Wonka's, I don't remember what was it called, but it was kind of like this floating chocolate. And well, they flew into outer space because even Wonka said that, I just, I don't even, I just made some modifications, so you're gonna float for a long time. And well, here's the thing there's a small nitpick that I do wanted to play during the spoilers. I didn't mention exactly, but one of the mementos that Willy Wonka has from his mother is that she gave him a chocolate bar that it is wrapped up, and it has even the insignia like Wonka, the logo of Wonka, with those beautiful letters and all this stuff. Which and apparently it's like he kept it. He kept it for years. I'm not exactly a professional at that, but help me out if you hear me this. He kept that chocolate for years, wrapped up and everything. And I'm surprised that for the many years that he had kept that chocolate bar, it isn't broken. It didn't grow stale. And there's no sign that it got melted. Because if you kind of keep the chocolate in a pocket, chances are that you have to go through weather conditions. And this is gonna be the most durable chocolate ever because it was kind of like in perfect condition when he finally decides to open it. But the thing that mesmerized me, and it's another slap in the face because saying that, hey, get it? It's a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory reference. The reference is that inside that chocolate, there is a golden wrapping with letters. Yeah, they made a reference to the golden ticket. And it has some sweet words from the mother saying that it's not that it's the inside that counts or something like that. It's a nice message that the mother gave him, as her final word. And honestly, yeah, the scenes of Wonka and remembering his mother is kind of sweet. Except for one thing when I begin to think about it. Those were beautiful words for your son who can't read. Okay, maybe I went harsh on this one. But sometimes you don't it's almost like it was almost like giving your loved one a kind of like a beautiful song when that loved one is deaf. It kind of didn't make sense to me. Okay, maybe reading is kind of like a more solvable problem in the near future. That probably she will say that, you know what, probably he will learn to read in a couple of years, and that kind of becomes kind of like a story arc in the in the subplot in which Wonka learns to read with thanks to Noodle in how can I say in movie time. Although it kind of begs the question also because if Willy Wonka was a more clever how can I say more clever clever businessman, he should also learn how to read. Although, yeah, it's a little bit of a nitpick. Also, there's a kind of like there's something that I really liked with that there is something saying in the movie that, yeah, the greedy. One of the things that they wanted to defeat is the term the greedy always defeats the needy and all this stuff. And yeah, Wonka wanted to defeat that. But my better comeback is that, you know why the greedy always wins? Because for the most of the time, they're clever and strong. So the best way to defeat the greedy is to play the same game. You gotta be more clever and needy. That would be clever. That would be a clever thing. And well, yeah, it ends up, you know, with Wonka. Wonka still without his factory. Well, he tried to open the shop, and he did open the shop, even though it kind of begs the question where he get the resources. He finds Noodle's mother, that she was lost, and yeah, this is at least I'll give it credit to even though how much I hated the villain's acting. At least there was this disgusting scene that the Slugworth did, you know, to Noodle and her family and all that stuff. There's this backstory that I'm not gonna exactly reveal, even for spoiler's sake. And then we get and then it ends with the imagination song, and Wonka imagining, I think, dreaming of his upcoming factory with the Oompa Loompa. And then, of course, we finish the movie and we get kind of like a mid-credit sequence in which it showcases what our good characters are going through. And also we get to see the landlords getting their comeuppance because these guys they got what they deserve. And let's say that they really turned into the twins, or the Twitchers. I don't remember what the name it was. Okay, I think that's good enough spoiler that I wanted to say. Mostly the chocolate bar was the spoilerish thing that I wanted to nitpick. It's not exactly bad, but you know what? That's all I wanted to say about Wonka. It was okay. Okay at best. If you find problems with it, I can hear you out. If you love that movie without having some problems, I understand. It's harmless at best. It wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't exactly kind of like very good. I don't want to overhype this movie. It is good, and if you like it, it's fine. It's just that I don't think that it was that great of a movie. It's, the best way I can say it is serviceable, but maybe it is. Maybe if they can build it better, the villains, and not making them so goofy that it's so cringy, I I could have forgiven a lot more about this movie because honestly, even charming and goodness has a boundary, and I'm more like someone that likes things balanced out instead of going all out, even in the good things that there is. But it doesn't matter. If you like it, fine. But I think that movie could have gone a little bit better. And well, but I can. But if you think that this movie makes life more sweeter, well, I think you got your money's worth. Mm. I still love chocolate. You know what this needs? It needs some giraffe milk. I'll be back.